Hey, it's Matt, your average gamer, and for this one, we're going to be covering a complete guide, build and guide for Faith Lightning. This is going to do a ton of damage. We're going to go over a ton of different spells and everything you need to know to become a powerful Faith Lightning build in Elden Ring. And this is going to be an incredibly powerful build. This is going to be one you're not going to want to miss out on. If you're looking for something really powerful, something really convenient, we got a universal setup that's going to absolutely crush bosses. This is on New Game Plus 7 as usual, and we're going to be taking on some late game bosses, mid game bosses, and talking about the build. Opened up with an absolutely destructive clip in destroying the fire giant. I mean, really, that just absolutely fried him in the second phase. And in the first phase, just 2 casts, and we're not even doing a crazy amount of buffs. That was truly incredible, the amount of damage you can do with Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike. That's going to be the main one we're going to focus on, but we're going to show a whole bunch of different lightning spells and everything you need to know about that. But first things first, where do you get the book? The first one is in Farum Azula. This is the better book for the lightning spells, so obviously late game at this point in Farum Azula, but there it is on the map there. You just run inside here and you're going to pick up the book. Now you can take these books to either Brother Corin or the Turtle at the Church of Vows. Either one will allow you to buy and purchase the incantations for a certain amount of runes, and it's not crazy expensive. I think Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike is maybe like 10,000 or so, and you'll be able to get a couple from that book. And there's another book I'm going to show you. This is the more basic lightning spells, and you can get these rather early. This is the Liurnia of the Lakes, by the way, and it's in the right portion. There's an artist shack up there. I recommend grabbing the Site of Grace first. That's probably the smartest thing to do, just in case you end up getting killed, because he is a little bit of a tougher enemy, being the knight and all. Not too tough. But once you get here, he's going to drop the book. It's a one-time drop. He'll drop the Dragon Colt book that'll allow you to get Lightning Spear and a couple other things like Honed Bolt, stuff that you're going to need in general. We're going to pick up the book and then I believe show it on the map here in Liurnia of the Lakes. And it's just south of the artist shack that's there. It's not too bad to get to. Once you start Liurnia of the Lakes, you can actually get that very early. Now, a frequent question I have whenever I've covered anything lightning related is the seal that boosted, the Gravelstone seal, where to get it. Well, you get it at the West Capital Rampart Site of Grace, and you're just going to follow me from here. Once the capital turns to ash, though, you will no longer be able to grab the Gravelstone seal. Keep that in mind, and this is going to be another night situation. Now, we're going to bait the one night after we kill the dogs here. I had to do this on another character, by the way, because by the time I remembered on the character I was using, it had turned to Ashen Capital. And again, at that point, you can no longer get the Gravelstone seal. The knight will not appear. Now, there's going to be 2 of them. You don't want to deal with the archer that's here. The archer that's here can be incredibly painful in the sense that he's just going to continue to fire that bow at you. He has an incredible amount of range. So you're better off baiting the other one on the side here and then fighting him. He's a little bit of a tough enemy. This is New Game Plus 7, so everything hits extra hard. He can be a little bit hard to kill, but again, you can bait him around the side here and avoid the archer entirely, so you don't have to deal with him shooting you at the same time the other knight is attacking you. It does lead to a little bit of a fight because, again, this knight is actually a little bit tough, and sometimes I'm not perfect with the jump attacks. Apparently, my last character here had a bleed build. I don't know what build I was doing, but I had the Scavenger Curve Sword build. Not a bad build to take on this knight, but at the same time, he can be tough. He's got a lot of reach. He's got, obviously, the lightning damage. But there it is, the Gravelstone seal. If you followed me accordingly from the West Rampart Capital Site of Grace, you'll be able to get this very easily. Yeah, it's not too bad to get. And next up, I just want to show on the map here because I had grabbed it already and I wasn't able to pull up the map. In Liurnia of the Lakes on the left section, that's where you get the Jellyfish Shield. That'll boost you by 20% in the offhand. You can run dual seals, but it is 5% more with the Jellyfish Shield. There it is on the map there. You can pick that up very easy, very in the early game. It's quite easy to get. And now for the buffs. I'm just going to show these on the map real quick. This is where you get Howl Shabriri. That'll boost you by 25% generic damage. That's a huge boost for whatever lightning spells you're going to be using. And then, if you want Golden Vow and you don't know where to get the incantation version of it, right outside the Volcano Manor itself, you're going to get to the point where there's a bridge that cuts off. You fall down, drop down from there, and you'll get Anastasia's second invasion there, and Golden Vow will be there for you to pick up. Now we're going to talk about our nuclear option in Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike, what we're doing with that, and then we're going to go over a couple different spells and basically the entire Faith Lightning setup that I like to use, which spells I like to use and why, and which spells I like to use for different situations and circumstances. For most bosses, I like Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike. As you can see the damage there, it was quite impressive. We're going to continue with that for a little bit on the gargoyle here as well. And we're going to hit him really hard. He probably should have died from one cast here. I think he had close to like no HP left, and he ends up dying from the second cast anyway. But one recommendation I have if you're using Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike is the standing targets, the ones you can stand behind like in Caelid, like the gargoyle there. Great place to practice using Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike to see how much damage you can get after buffs. Next up we have here, we're going to do a little bit of a mix here for Godfrey Golden Shade, who has 0 lightning resistance. So we're going to take that to our advantage. That's a huge deal given the fact that he takes the full complement of lightning damage. And then we can throw in some Lightning Spear too. I always like using Lightning Spear in a combination with Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike. Why is that? It's because it gives you ranged ability. So if you hit them hard with Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike and they're left with some HP, you can then switch to Lightning Spear and you can get really good damage out of it using the same system, the same setup, talisman buffs, and everything of that sort. And you'll be able to do a lot of damage with it as well. Now on to Morgott. So Morgott did kill me one time, but that was my fault. I was just simply way too far away from him when I casted Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike, so I decided to go back in here and do it again another time. And yeah, it wasn't too challenging at this point because you do have the shackle. I end up getting hit here as he goes to phase transition. You can one-shot him with extra buffs and whatnot, but we're keeping this build rather basic to the point where we're only really using Golden Vow and Howl, Shabriri, and then everything else, obviously the Jellyfish Shield too. But we're not going to go crazy with poison procs or anything, or seppuku, anything too crazy for the purpose of this build. It's just going to be a well-rounded, powerful lightning build that utilizes a whole bunch of different Faith Lightning incantations. We're going to mix up some more stuff here. We're going to go over 3 specific ones later in this video, by the way, that I like using for different situations, but I'm going to end up using the Glaive here. It's a pretty cool animation as far as what it does itself. It's not the most damaging thing in the world. I'm going to show it later on mobs because it's much better for them. Again, here I end up switching to Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike, and the tree avatar obviously goes down fairly quickly because he's a larger target. His hitbox is going to take all the damage from that. He doesn't have an incredible amount of lightning resistance, and he went down fairly quickly. For the Godskin duo, we're going to use Sleeping Pots here and see how much damage we can do without a crazy number of buffs. And then after the Godskin duo, and then I think we're going to show a quick clip of Malekith, the end of Malekith anyway, and then just so we can throw in some late game bosses, we're going to go over 3 different specific spells, specific lightning spells, and what I like mainly utilizing them for and how good they are. And we're going to do a lot of damage to the Godskin duo after we do a couple of buffs here. This isn't going to be too challenging given the fact that they're both asleep. If you can get them both asleep right next to each other, it makes your life a lot easier. If you do more additional buffs like seppuku and poison procking, you can easily one-shot them. For this though, I did just basic buffs essentially in Howl, Shabriri, Golden Vow, and the Jellyfish Shield. And we do a lot of damage. We end up getting a lot of damage out of it, but the one is going to come back. And hopefully most of the time, if you're lucky enough, you get the heavy set one, which means you can put him back to sleep if you have to. If you get the thinner one, he can obviously dodge the sleeping pots, which is a little bit of an issue, but we end up with the heavy set one here. We're able to put him to sleep fairly quickly, and then we're going to finish off this fight and end it with Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike, one of the most powerful spells, or incantations rather, in the entire game of Elden Ring. It really truly is incredibly powerful, and when timed right, it's essentially a nuke of Faith builds. It's the common dessert of Faith builds. It really truly is. It has a crazy amount of power. Now, the Draconic Tree Sentinel here did kill me one time, and I actually got killed by Beast Clergyman and Malekith, I think a couple of times, a handful of times, but not too many. We're going to show both of them, then we're going to go over a couple individual spells I like and what I like using them for, and then we're going to go over stats, build, equipment, everything that you need to know for this incredibly powerful lightning build. Now that we've shown the Draconic Tree Sentinel there, I know a lot of people have trouble with him. I'm going to skip Beast Clergyman because he beat me up a lot. He took a lot of my HP. And Malekith is actually easier with the lightning build, at least in my opinion. And I'm just going to show the ending here. We got off a cast of Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike for a substantial amount of damage. And then we're able to finish off Malekith with Lightning Spear. Very easy there, not too bad, even on New Game +7. They don't have a ton of HP. You can actually one-shot both phases, not too bad. Beast Clergyman's a little bit more frustrating because some of his attacks always look like they're going to hit you, or they're not going to hit you, and then they end up hitting you. But once you get to Malachi, it's not too bad. Now, for mobs, general mobs in general, individual enemies, I really like Lightning Spear. It absolutely shines for this specific purpose. Lightning Spear is truly a highlight for regular individual enemies, and the reason for that is because it has such range. It has incredible range. You're already using the setup for Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike, so you don't have to go and change anything. You don't have to do anything too crazy. And sure enough, you can stay away from the majority of enemies while hitting them with regular Lightning Spear. And it's something for me that I always have in complement to Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike. When dealing with mobs, there's a couple different spells I'm going to use. I'm going to go over another one I like for mobs as well. And we do end up using the Glaive here. But as far as Lightning Spear itself, it's definitely something that can be really powerful. You can even use it, as you saw with Golden Shade, mix it in on bosses. If you can charge it, it does a fairly good amount of damage, over 1,000 damage on each one with this setup. And it's something where you can kind of just spam it, keep using it, and clear out enemies with ease. And again, it's very convenient for certain situations, and it's something you should definitely have equipped if you're running a lightning build. Next up, I'm going to show Fortissax's Lightning Spear, if I said that right. I'm not even sure if I said his name right, but these are the dual lightning spears, the ones that have probably the coolest animation out of all the lightning spells. And I like using this against dragons, certain bosses. They actually hit quite hard, but the area of effect that you get is quite wide, so they work better for larger targets. Overall, though, it's a very powerful incantation, and again, you're basically getting 2 lightning spears out of it, essentially, 2 of the Ancient Dragon lightning spears, and you can kind of crush a lot of enemies with this, given the fact that it does a substantial amount of damage, and it's something where you get a lot of hyper armor in the air too. Now granted, you can get knocked down, but it has a reasonable amount of hyper armor, at least enough as far as for me. And it's something where you're going to go up to dragons like this, and you're going to be able to crush them, crush a lot of the enemies in the game because it just does a lot of damage. It's not the nuclear option that Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike is. No, it's not quite that good. But at the same time, it's a lot more fun to use sometimes, in my opinion, because you do get to slam down 2 spears. It looks so cool, and taking out some dragons, some enemies in general with Fortissax's Lightning Spear is just awesome. And that you get from Fia's questline. You have to do Fia's pretty much entire questline to fight that dragon and get that incantation. Now this one's from the Dragon in the Altless Plateau, and that's Lansseax's Glaive, and the Glaive is really good. You can use it as a wide sweep to clear out mobs, as you're going to see in a quick clip here. It's something where if you're running into a lot of mobs and you're able to get back far enough, you can pretty much clear all of them out. This is something I like using for clearing mobs because look at the range on it. I mean, the range is incredible. The amount of damage it does is quite good as well. If you're trouble with any mobs, if you're having any difficulty with mobs in general, where they're just going to be, kind of grouped up and they're hitting you like crazy, step back, try to get this spell off, and odds are you're going to clear out probably all of them using the Glaive. All right, let's get into buffs for this build. First things first, we're going to drink our tear and then cast Golden Vow. Then we're going to use Howl Shabriri after we fill up our FP. We're going to use the Jellyfish Shield, then Howl Shabriri. You can do either or. They're both around 30 seconds. 40 seconds for Howl, 30 seconds for Jellyfish Shield. And then we can cast Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike. We can use the Glaive, which is awesome. We can use the double spears. I have a lot of fun with that one. That's a really fun one in general just to pull off. And then we have Lightning Spear because that's something that you should always have equipped as a lightning build. Let's get into equipment. Now for equipment, we have the Gravelstone Seal plus 25. We have the Jellyfish Shield. You can use the Black Dumpling if you want to proc that for extra damage. I think we did hit 51 poise. Ritual Swords Talisman, Phlox Canvas Talisman, Dragoncrest Great Shield Talisman, Lightning Scorpion Charm, and then we have the Lightning Tier. And then I think I had the Fire Tier because I was throwing in some other stuff when I was running this, but you can use the Faith Tier. Let's get into stats. Stats, this is all faith-based, but this is an entire lightning build. As you can see what I have equipped here, we're all set and ready to go with our lightning build. This is going to be incredibly powerful. You can see the stats on screen here at 150. You're going to do a lot of damage. This was New Game Plus 7, Journey 12, by the way, and the amount of damage we did was incredible. This build turned out really fun. I just threw this clip of a Faith build on here at the end just so I can talk over it real quick. I just want to mention, by the way, as far as the videos go lately, I'm going to continue to make as much content as I can, as much good content. I'm going to concentrate more on quality content and everything that I can do, make the best builds, try to turn the game into something that we can keep everybody interested for the long term. By the way, everything in the description below, if you need any additional stuff, there's an item guide in there too that might help. Be sure to join the Discord. You're definitely going to want to be a part of that. If you're not subbed and you love overpowered PvE builds, be sure to check out all the awesome builds that are on my channel. Thanks for watching, and as always, I will catch you guys there.